Hi, fourth graders, Mrs. Nelson here, and we are going to be looking at pictures. So when I say pictures, we have several different kinds of pictures that we're going to look at. Now, pictures are text features in informational books, and they also show up in nonfiction, fiction books, nonfiction, and they're very important to your everyday life. So pictures. We have three important categories of pictures that you'll see. One is the photographs that you see right here. The next one that you see is called illustrations, and the third are called diagrams. They kind of get confusing because you can call them all pictures, and they are. But they are done differently. They have different jobs, okay? And it'll be your job to decide, is something a picture? Is something an illustration? Or is it going to be a diagram? And what are the jobs of a picture? What is the job of an illustration? And what is a job of a diagram? Okay? So, photographs. We're going to start over here, and we're going to look at photographs, okay? Photographs are super common, very important. Everybody likes a photograph, okay? So let's scroll down and just take a look at some photographs. The key part of a photograph is it was taken by a camera, sometimes on a phone, or an actual camera by a photographer, okay? And they're of a real life creature or thing that you can see outside, inside, somewhere. So a photograph is done with a camera, okay? And photographs are everywhere, in advertisements, on TV. Photograph taken with a camera, either with a camera or on your phone, okay? With the camera app on your phone. The second kind of picture that you can run into are what are called illustrations. Illustrations are, as you can see in this photo right here, this picture, is done by a human being. You draw it out. That's drawn by hand. Talent and skill with a pencil, a marker, crayons, paint, watercolor. You do an illustration. Okay? It's not taken with a camera. Sometimes you have a picture that you use and you draw it by hand. You copy it. And it's done on paper or some other kind of, sometimes you put it on walls, sometimes you put it on canvas or plates, but they are done by hand by a human being with a pencil, paper, marker, and it's considered art. Usually, well, a photograph can be considered art because it takes a lot of skill. But an actual illustration is drawn by hand, okay? So as you can see, all of these are some sort of a drawing, okay? And you can compare that to the photograph, okay? So you draw illustrations, you take a photograph with a camera. Now, the third category of picture that you will run into is called a diagram. Okay. Now, diagram and illustrations look similar because a diagram is usually drawn by hand, because that picture right here, the parts of a flower, that is not a picture of a flower. Now, a diagram could be a picture of a flower with labels. So you take a picture and you label it. So if I zoom in here, you will notice that there are labels. 1, 2, 3, 4, and they tell you what they are. Okay? So if we scroll down to the plant cell, again, this is a hand-drawn illustration with labels telling you what the parts are, which are very important because if you don't know what makes up the pieces, bits and bobs of a living thing or a car, or then you need a diagram to show you. Here's another diagram of a heart. Here's somebody's heart, and they have the labels telling you what the different little pieces are. Here's the left coronary artery right here, left ventricle right here, right ventricle right here, superior vena cava right here. So it's an illustration. This one isn't a picture of an actual heart. That looks a little different. But they could use the picture of a real heart, but this one happens to be a drawing that they labeled. Okay? So again, if we're looking at these, you have several different kinds of pictures. These are pictures that you'll see in a book, whether that's fiction or nonfiction, and we're talking about informational text, and you will see photographs, you will see illustrations, and you will see diagrams. Photographs, remember, photographs over here are taken with a camera. Illustrations are a type of picture, but they are drawn by hand with markers, pencils, that sort of crayons, paint. A diagram could be a photograph or an illustration, but it has labels on it telling you what the pieces of the picture are. Okay, so 3 different categories of a picture. So your job will be to decide, I'm going to show you an image, an actual picture, and you have to decide photograph or illustration or diagram. You have to decide that. Remember, photograph taken with a camera. If it's an illustration, it's drawn by a human being, and it usually is markers, pens, paint, that sort of thing. And a diagram is usually either a photograph or an illustration, but it has little labels on it telling you what the bits and pieces are. Questions, concerns, please come see me. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.